Timber can be difficult to fish at times. With so many targets, finding the right areas to key in on can be difficult. Larry's using a spinnerbait in the timber. In today's lesson, slow rolling tree lines.
Golly, I felt that ball. Good one, too. Good fish. And I slow rolled that spinnerbait by that log, and I mean, he knocked slack in it. Good fish. Yeah. Ain't that a healthy fish? He wanted that spinnerbait. Look at the color on that fish. Isn't he pretty and black? Anytime you got watercolor this color, boy, they can put out some beautiful bass. They get that good old dark tint to them, makes them look like they're from Florida. Good bass. Yeah. Got a lot of wood cover like this. I dropped that spinnerbait down, let it sink about 2 foot, and started winding it real slow through them logs. I mean, he clobbered it. Well, this is definitely spinnerbait water, I'll tell you that. This has got the prettiest cover that I've seen back in shallow water in a while. Tailor-made for a spinnerbait. Anytime I go into an area that has a lot of shallow water, and by that I mean water that's less than 10 foot deep, and it has a lot of wood timber in it, I feel like a spinnerbait is going to be one of the key lures to use in that situation. Another bait that I tried, I really did, I tried it a lot, the little Scout, because it is such a good wood bait. But let me tell you what, the bass have to be less than 3 foot deep for the Scout to be a good fish catcher. If the fish are up on the logs, then the Scout will outfish a spinnerbait. But these fish were suspended down about 3 to 6 feet under the surface, and they were on these tree lines. See, I had targets to throw at. It was just a matter of getting the bait down in the strike zone and fishing it real slow because of the sluggish fish. And that's where the 3/8 ounce elite spinnerbait came in. And put a good trailer on there. Use a trailer of some sort anytime you're fishing down. If you're fishing your bait down below your line of sight, then put a trailer on that spinnerbait. And you don't need a trailer hook when you're fishing it down in the timber because you're going to stay hung up too often. I tried crankbaits and fished different lures around through here, and fished my spinnerbait, buzzed it and waked it, couldn't get a bite, and I just had to slow it way down, crawl it through them logs, crawl it on that outer edge. The fish that's hit it so far been down 3 to 4 foot deep. Out from there, little bitty rat. Typical shallow water bass fishing. The summer and fall of the year, you got to fish that bait slow to get them to hit it. They won't hit it waking it. Get a good cloudy, rainy day, I'll bet you can drill them in here doing that. That's where weather conditions make such a big difference. You got to fish what Mother Nature deals you, and one day that's sun, next day it's clouds. Occasionally you get that good fishing day where it rains. That's when you can whack them.
In the summer or fall of the year, frequently when fishing a bait such as a spinnerbait in shallow water, you must slow it down, tending to slow roll the bait more. However, on a cloudy or rainy day, you may find the fish more aggressive and willing to hit a faster moving bait near the surface.
Looky here. Oh. Come here, come on up here. Jiminy, good fish. Good fish. I mean, that one got it. That's a good bass right there. In fact, that's a big bass. To me, that's a big bass. Same thing. I'm having to reel that spinnerbait so slow that it drives me crazy. What we call in pro terminology, down and dirty. Got to get him down deep and let him bump off that brush. And in fact, I mean, just almost let him sink before you ever start turning your blades. When I'm trying to find bass for a show, I go through a lot of things that y'all really don't see, and there's really no way that we can show everything. I may go through a pile of baits that takes me 5 minutes to sort them out and get them put back up when I get done. So, you know, I have to look for fish and spend a lot of time to find them and find the right lure that I need to use to catch them fish before we even get started. Not a big one, but a nice fish anyway. Nice fish. Yep. Oh. Well, would you, the little ones are always mean. Nothing wrong with that bass. I mean, he nailed it too. Fishing it down. You know, that's a pattern sometimes for me that's is a difficult one for me to find, because I can't have a tendency to want to keep a bait moving a little too much sometimes, and that's where your good spinnerbait fishermen, you know, if they know there's a spinnerbait bite going on, or it's an area like this, I mean, this is tailor-made for a spinnerbait. You should just pick one up and never lay it down until you figure out what the fish are doing. You go a couple hours without a bite, then pick you up a plastic worm or a jig and start casting around the edge of this brush. But it's kind of like hunting a needle in a haystack when you got this much brush. If they're schooled up out on the edge of the brush, then after you finally found a honey hole. But these fish are scattered up and down these little tree lines, and you know, this time of year, to me, anytime after the spawn, that's when the bass are going back toward that deeper water, and they'll migrate down these little rows of trees, and it's just a matter of, gee, that's a good one right there. It's just a matter of following these tree lines until you figure out right where they are and getting the right speed on that retrieve. Boy, I love it when they hit a spinnerbait like that on a slow retrieve. I mean, just boom. Knock a foot of slack in your line. That fish there's a little bit skinny, but he's still a big bass. A good fish. Thank you, sir. Man, I love it when they hit it like that. Line's in good shape. Come out from under there. Look at here. Look at that fish. That is a good one. Look at here, something else I got. Check this out, folks. Somebody else had this fish on once upon a time, and whatever he eat is down yonder. And he's got string hanging out his mouth and all over my line. So I'm gonna at least relieve him of that line. Yeah, somebody thought they had a 10-pounder when you broke their line, didn't you? Now look what I got. A conglomeration of, looks like a crappie fisherman's line. Little old teeny stuff. Oh well. That's not the first time I've had that happen. Yep, somebody got a thrill out of him. When I look at something like that, I always look for something different, like this little lane going around the left-hand side and this hole out here in the middle. I mean, occasionally you can work your way around the edge of it and throw way out in there and catch fish, but if you key too much on that heavy stuff, sometimes you can miss the fish because they'll be right on that edge. Best way to do is just fish the whole thing, just work the whole area. Work the perimeter of it and make a few long casts out in there, but the area that I'm really going to concentrate on is around the edges.
When fishing a heavily timbered area, start out fishing the perimeter of that area. Then look for lanes at the outside edges of tree lines. Finally, work your way in, fishing within the timber, casting to all of the available cover.
Golly, well, that's a good one right there, too. What a jumper. Well, you can just quit that anytime you want to. Good one. Look at that. Same thing. That's the difference between fish feeding and fish not feeding. When they just engulf it, you know they're hungry. That's a good day. Usually a weather system's going to change, a front coming in, or something makes that big change. And they're biting. Now tomorrow you'd probably come right back out here and they wouldn't be biting that good. You wouldn't get the hook in every one of them that hit either. I've said it before, but I'm going to keep saying it because, I mean, it's a very important thing. When you're bass fishing, watch for edge. Any little thing that gives a bass an edge, a migration route, a tree line, roadbed, look for that edge. That was really the whole key to where these fish were at today. You know, fish in the fall of the year and the pre-spawn time of the year when you're looking for fish that are, you're not sure where they are, they use little migration routes, little tree lines, ditches. They're going to always use that little bottom change that you need to have to make an area good. A creek channel, that's a migration route. A lot of times you can't see it. You know, it's something that's underwater. You really got to pay attention to your electronics to find it. But somewhere up and down them little draws and ditches and creeks, you're going to find that little area that's got fish on it. By George, that was a, wow! Come right back through there and got me another one. Man, that is a good one too. Oh, you're a lively rascal. Well, look at that fish jump. You a record jumper, old boy.
Both during the pre-spawn period and the fall of the year, fish use migration routes such as a creek channel, ditch, or any similar bottom change. During these periods, pay close attention to your electronics and key in on these areas.
Out of there, you big son of a gun. is a good fish right there. Come here to me. Ain't that a good one? Good fish. What a strike. You know, even though you've got a main pattern going, fishing a spinnerbait down slow on a tree line, once you fish that area and the fish have slowed down on you, it never hurts to move on and start fishing shallow. That big old fish was right up on a little old shallow spot. The water wasn't that deep. Don't overlook the little things. Come see me again next week. I'll teach you how to be a better bass fisherman.